The story begins with Ben's Omnitrix watch, which fell from the sky and was lost by its alien owners. However, that story concluded long ago. Let's first get acquainted with the aliens in the Omnitrix watch. There's Big Chill, a ghost-like alien who can become invisible and phase through walls. He also emits ice that freezes anything. Humongosaur is a giant dinosaur-like alien with immense physical strength. He grows in size whenever he gets angry. Nanomech is the smallest alien in Ben 10's history. He can enter and control devices from within. An old rumor suggests he invented the Omnitrix. I will introduce you to Ben's companions. Gwen has mysterious magical energy in her veins, inherited from an ancient lineage. She can stop time, create energy shields, and open portals to other worlds. Kevin was once an enemy but is now an ally. He possesses a superhuman ability to absorb any material and transform into it. Of course, without Grandpa Max, they wouldn't have achieved what they have. He is the trusted leader who fought aliens even before Ben was born. He holds secrets about all planets and possesses a hidden arsenal of weapons no one knows about. The story begins on the outskirts of Plumber's base. In an abandoned warehouse, Kevin is meeting black market smugglers who are selling what they call alien technology. As they open the bag, they reveal tubes filled with strange chips. Even the sellers don't understand what they are. Kevin immediately calls Gwen to analyze the chips. Ben notices something is wrong. The Omnitrix starts glitching and scrambling, as if the chips are affecting it. One of the sellers gets angry, and a confident woman in a helmet appears. She states, "We are the Plumbers, a secret team for planetary protection." Ben is surprised and asks how she found them. She removes her helmet, revealing she is Elena, an old acquaintance who was expelled years ago with her father, Victor. What Ben doesn't know is that someone is observing them from a distance, recording every word. Ben expresses his surprise, mentioning his grandfather told him Elena and her father disappeared suddenly, but he never knew the real reason. Still trying to comprehend, Ben tells Elena that his grandfather said they left the Plumbers willingly. Elena denies this, making Ben feel something is amiss. He asks her why she is with black market dealers. Elena reveals that everything, from the meeting in the warehouse, was orchestrated by her to meet them. She asks for their help because her father, Victor, disappeared years ago without a trace. Suddenly, the real danger arrives. The person observing them from a distance begins to control the chips. The capsules break, and the chips fly into the air like a swarm of aggressive insects, attacking everyone in the area. Ben tries to defend himself, reaching for the Omnitrix to transform. But to his shock, the Omnitrix is completely unresponsive. Gwen and Kevin find themselves in a direct confrontation with the swarm and are forced to deal with them on their own. The situation devolves into chaos. The place becomes a literal hell. Amidst the battle, the sellers escape on their motorcycles, leaving the collapsing warehouse behind as the chips damage its supports. After a narrow escape, Ben examines the chips, suspecting they are a form of remote-controlled technology. His eyes suddenly fall on the person who was observing them from the start, standing in strange radiation. Ben immediately suspects he is responsible for everything and is controlling the insects. At that moment, Ben decides he cannot stand by. He must act before the catastrophe worsens. He tries to transform again using the Omnitrix, choosing the form of Spider Monkey. However, due to the interference from the chips, a malfunction occurs, and instead of Spider Monkey, he transforms into Big Chill, who can freeze everything. This transformation comes just in time. Big Chill takes a deep breath and exhales an icy blast, trapping the chip swarm within a massive block of ice. The ice then shatters into millions of pieces, taking a large number of the insects with it in a single blow. The swarm is contained, but Ben doesn't stop there. He quickly chases after the person who was controlling the insects, trying to freeze him with the same icy breath. But the villain is faster, jumping off the radiation source and throwing a new swarm towards Gwen. Ben is forced to abandon the pursuit and go help her. Unfortunately, this was the moment the villain had been waiting for to escape. Even more distressing, Elena also disappears with him. The situation becomes very strange. Gwen and Kevin are now convinced that Elena was involved with him and that the whole thing was a setup from beginning to end. But Ben cannot easily believe this. His mind keeps working, especially because he feels something is unclear about Elena and her father's expulsion from the plumbers. That's why he decides to go to the headquarters and ask his grandfather about Victor himself. At the plumbers' communications center, the three await Max, Ben's grandfather. They decide to use this opportunity to examine some of the chips they collected. They discover a shocking truth. These chips are not just technological devices, they also contain life. They are half mechanical, half living organisms. Gwen, whose curiosity always precedes her, tries to use her powers to read the chip's energy and better understand their nature, but unfortunately, there is no result. Kevin steps in and says, "Leave this to me," deciding to trace their source via computer. While Kevin is working, Ben suggests they leave everything and go look for Elena. This doesn't please Gwen, and the two get into a verbal argument, and the atmosphere heats up. Just as the argument begins, Max, the great leader of the plumbers, walks in. As soon as his eyes fall on the chip they are examining, he says with a worried tone, "I've seen this before, but I can't remember where exactly." Ben immediately seizes the opportunity, thinking this is the best time to ask about Victor's expulsion. Suddenly, an alarm blares, signaling an intruder has entered the headquarters. Everyone quickly moves, following the energy signals until they reach Max's room. To their surprise, they find Elena waiting for them. As soon as Max sees her, he gets upset and asks, "What are you doing here?" and tries to immediately expel her. But this time, Ben takes her side, explaining that she came to ask for help and that her father, Victor, disappeared and might have been kidnapped by the person controlling the insects. However, the rest of the team, especially Gwen and Kevin, still don't believe her. Kevin takes her and throws her out of the lab. Max stays with his grandchildren and begins to explain the truth. He opens the computer and shows them Victor's file, telling them that the man was expelled and banned from the plumbers because he was caught stealing these strange chips from the secret vault. This is why his name was removed, and he was expelled permanently. But Ben refuses to believe that Elena is guilty of her father's actions. He confidently states, "Elena is our closest link to whoever is behind all this and is controlling these insects." However, Max refuses to believe Elena is innocent and tells him, "What you're saying, Ben, isn't convincing," still clearly doubting her. But Ben, who has decided to trust her, makes a daring decision. He leaves the headquarters without permission, steals his grandfather's motorcycle, and sets off alone to catch up with Elena. Both are on their way to the location where Elena found the alien chips. At the same time, Elena's father, Victor, walks alone in the darkness until he encounters two thugs who try to rob him, telling him he's no longer alone in this place. But suddenly he smiles a terrifying smile and says, "I'm not alone," opening his arm to reveal a massive swarm of chips. The swarm attacks them, piercing their bodies and transforming them into brainless, will-less zombies subservient to him. Simultaneously, Ben and Elena arrive at the suspicious location and begin to search for any evidence. Unbeknownst to them, the real villain, Victor, is standing outside with his army of infected loading boxes into a truck belonging to a company called Ship It. The two are still investigating inside, unaware that danger is literally at the door. At the end of the corridor, they reach an old lab, which turns out to be Victor's. They notice notes written in his handwriting and a shipping form from the same company. As they try to piece together the events, a strange group suddenly enters, telling them they are there to help. But Ben remains focused and notices something terrifying. Their eyes have a strange, unnatural glint, and Elena, who has experience with the chips, sees them moving under their skin. The shock hits both of them. All these people are controlled by the alien chips. They have been completely taken over. Suddenly, one of the infected says, "Come, let's meet the Queen," and they all start approaching them with terrifying calm. Ben tries to use the Omnitrix, but as usual, the chip's interference is still affecting it, and he cannot choose any alien to transform into. Of course, there's no time to think, and they are forced to run as fast as they can, escaping through the back door via the emergency exit. But they find themselves trapped again, with no way out, and the group of infected closes in. At this moment, Ben takes a crazy risk. He utilizes the unstable support of the Omnitrix and tries to overdrive it. The Omnitrix indeed explodes in a powerful shockwave that throws everything around them, opening a gap for them to escape. The two run to their motorcycle, and begin their escape into the dark night. But suddenly, Elena slips and falls off the motorcycle. Ben immediately goes back to save her. He carries her on his back and continues running through the crowd until they are completely out of danger. As he tries to process what happened, he realizes the next step must be at the Ship It company. There we'll find what Victor was sending, and there we'll learn his plan. Meanwhile, at Plummer's headquarters, Kevin and Gwen finally manage to trace the source of the chip's energy and discover that most of the energy is concentrated at the main distribution center of the Ship It company. The two secretly infiltrate the location and begin searching through papers and files. They find records of shipments distributed to various countries around the world. But as they search, a strange employee appears and tells them, "The company is closed. Come back another time." Gwen senses something unnatural and asks him, "If the company is closed, what are you doing here at this time?" The man replies with a strange tone, "My mission is to serve the Queen." The shock confuses both of them. They realize he has become one of the infected. Kevin, without thinking, grabs a piece of wood nearby, absorbs its properties, and punches the man, sending him flying. He seizes the opportunity, grabs the documents, and runs to the car. In the car, as they buckle up, they look in the mirror. The strange employee is standing behind them, making disturbing movements with his body, as if transforming. As Gwen turns her head forward, she discovers a terrifying surprise. The strange employee isn't just infected, he is controlling the chips himself. Suddenly, the chips begin to gather into a spherical ball and start violently hitting the car's front windshield to the point where the glass shakes and almost breaks. Kevin, without thinking, slams the accelerator, speeding away with his car at top speed. But the alien balls are still after them. 3 giant balls of chips form and chase them, rolling like cannonballs, crushing anything in their path. But Kevin makes a crazy evasive maneuver, causing one of the balls to hit a wall and shatter. However, the ball quickly reforms as if nothing happened. Kevin then says, "Only speed will work against them," and activates the turbo system, pressing the accelerator as if it's a life-or-death race. But the balls are still behind them, and there's no solution but to enter an abandoned construction site and lure them there. They use the open ground, driving the car over the alien balls, crushing them under the wheels. Unfortunately, the car flips over them and is severely damaged. But surprisingly, Kevin and Gwen emerge almost unharmed and quickly get on their feet. Suddenly, from a nearby bridge, a giant ball monster, larger than ever before, appears above them, ready to crush them. Kevin prepares himself, transforming his body into solid rock, ready for battle. But before the monster attacks, Ben arrives, flying in from above on his motorcycle, leaping into the air. At that moment, he transforms into Humongosaur, the armored dinosaur alien. While still in the air, Ben prepares a punch and lands it directly. The blow is immense, but as usual, the chips don't die easily. They reform and turn into small balls, firing explosive laser beams at him. But Humongosaur's armored skin withstands the incoming projectiles. With his immense strength, Humongosaur begins striking the balls, shattering a large part of them. But the insects do not surrender easily. The swarm begins to gather around Ben, forming a dome around him, a dome of savage chips that traps him and gives him no chance to escape. But Humongosaur flexes his muscles and blasts himself out of this metallic dome, emerging like a true monster. But the surprises aren't over. The chips gather again and transform into a terrifying alien creature shaped like a giant, twisting anaconda, approaching him quickly. Ben quickly looks around. There's no weapon and no time. So he makes a crazy decision. He lifts Kevin's car and uses it like a baseball bat, hitting the metallic anaconda with all his might. The blow indeed sends many parts of the creature flying, and the chaos around Ben finally calms down. After things quiet down, Ben returns to his human form and sits with Kevin and Gwen to discuss what to do next. After a quick discussion, they decide they must take one of these chips as a sample and return to the lab to analyze it. They take Elena with them and bring her into Max's room, who is watching breaking news. All the news is about the chips that have spread worldwide, increasing by the moment. As soon as the children explain what happened, Max takes the new sample and begins to analyze it himself. He discovers that what they are facing are not independent alien creatures. They are intelligent entities, external parts of an alien device that operates with mind control technology. After finishing the analysis, he decides to put the sample back in the jar. But a small mistake happens. One of the chips slips out, and none of them notice it has begun to move quietly around the table, moving as if searching for prey. While everyone is planning, trying to find a final solution to stop this invasion, Ben remembers something very important. He says that the people who were controlled spoke to him about a queen. This means there is a leader for this whole swarm, and if they eliminate her, no new chips will be born, and then all this danger will end. The plan is clear. They must reach the queen and eliminate her at any cost. Everyone sits in front of the computer, beginning to search for any sign indicating her location, tracking energy signals, alien signals, anything that could help. But amidst the rush and tension, no one notices the escaped chip, which quietly sneaks onto Max's arm. Without him realizing it, it completely takes control of him. A moment later, Ben goes to ask him something, but he is surprised by a terrifying sight. His legendary grandfather's eyes are strange, and his movements are unnatural. He picks up the computer screen and tries to throw it at Ben. Ben screams, and the others quickly run to the sound. Kevin acts decisively without hesitation, punching Max in the head to calm him down and stop him from harming Ben. But while they are busy with what happened, Max gets up quietly and activates a smoke device in the lab, filling the entire place with smoke. Visibility drops to 0, and no one can see anything. Max escapes through the base's tunnels without anyone being able to stop him. At that moment, everyone goes crazy. Max has disappeared, and the situation is out of control. But Ben remains calm and focused, thinking about the original mission. They must find the queen and eliminate her. They return to the computer to analyze the map of chips spread around the world and discover that most of them are in major cities. But a strange point catches their attention. An unnatural number of chips are gathered in a small town in Missouri, a rural town with nothing remarkable about it. Gwen quickly researches and discovers that this town is the main headquarters of the Ship It company. Ben then completes the picture. The queen must be there, managing the entire operation from inside that headquarters. But there's a problem. Their car was completely destroyed in the chase, and they need a way to get there. Kevin laughs and says, "I was waiting for your birthday, Ben, but it looks like you'll get your gifts early," revealing a new car he had been preparing specifically for him. Armored, fast, and equipped for missions exactly like this. Ben gets into the new car, and everyone sets off towards the town. When they arrive, they see with their own eyes that the company's main headquarters has been transformed into a large den of infected, with many abnormal people moving strangely, all under the Queen's control. Certain they are in the right place, they storm the headquarters without hesitation. As soon as they enter, they see Max, now a follower of the enemy, standing and talking to another infected person. But unfortunately, they can't do anything to him now and must focus on the real target. They continue on their way. Suddenly, they find a massive, advanced automated production line working to manufacture chips en masse. In the middle of the line, Kevin's eyes fall on a person standing and controlling everything. Who is it? Yes, it's Victor. He was the man from the warehouse from the very beginning. This means Victor was behind everything, from the chip deal to the spread of the infection. Everyone turns to look at Elena, and doubt returns to control them. Kevin speaks sharply. "You knew that your father was behind all this." But Elena defends herself, saying, "Never. I swear I didn't know. If I knew anything, I would have said it. I came here to look for him," and says he must be infected. Look at his behavior. The same thing that happened to Max. The words are logical. But Kevin still cannot believe her and accuses her of betrayal. But as usual, Ben takes her side, telling them, "If there's even one chance she's telling the truth, we have to give her a chance." Here, everyone falls silent and begins to focus on Victor. As Ben observes his actions, he notices something terrifying. Victor is not just operating the factory, he is laying eggs. Yes, he is producing an alien egg, and this means only one thing: the Queen is inside him. With this, the plan is clear. If they want to stop everything, they must stop Victor. Kevin immediately suggests they eliminate him, but Elena, with eyes full of fear, pleads with them, saying, "He's my father, and we must at least try to save him." Ben remembers his promise to her, that he would try to save Victor at all costs, so he makes a dangerous decision. He will transform transform and kill the queen herself. But Gwen objects, telling him, "Are you crazy? If that creature you transform into, the most powerful being in the universe, becomes infected by the chips, it will be the end of all humanity." Here, everyone begins to argue, and the tension reaches its peak, but they are still divided. Elena moves without saying a word, but is suddenly pulled from behind, and one of the infected grabs her, screaming at the top of his voice. At that moment, the entire swarm is alerted to the intruder's presence, and chaos erupts. There is no time, and Ben doesn't think for another second, reaching for the Omnitrix and pressing it, ready to transform into any form. But the chip's interference is still active, and as a result, Ben doesn't transform into any known superhero. He transforms into something completely different. He shrinks and shrinks even more until he is the size of an ant. This is a benefit, not a mistake. Ben is now Nanomech, a hybrid creature between a human and a chip, with wings and capable of entering literally any place. In his microscopic size, Ben quickly flies towards Victor and shrinks even further until he enters through his nostrils. As soon as he enters, he begins to hear a voice that is neither Victor's nor a human's. It is the voice of the Queen. The Queen is inside, having formed an entire colony, controlling everything from inside his body. Outside, Gwen and Kevin try to distract the infected to give Ben a chance. Ben penetrates deeper and finally reaches the Queen, a giant creature unlike any he has ever encountered, with eyes full of evil. The Queen tries to embrace him and offers him to become part of her army, to adopt him instead of destroying him. But Ben refuses, confidently replying that he will protect his planet, even if he has to fight a war alone. The Queen, shocked by the rejection, decides to eradicate humanity right now and tries to activate all the chips, and the end of the world begins. But at this moment, Nanomech gathers all his energy and unleashes an electrical wave from inside Victor's body. A shocking and destructive nano-explosion occurs, and the Queen is literally disintegrated, turning into air, and her entire system collapses. After the Queen's death, we see all the chips fall at once, and the infected return to their normal selves. Even Victor falls to the ground, exhausted and freed. Ben exits his body and returns to his normal size. Everyone gathers around him. Gwen smiles for the first time in the movie, and her smile is beautiful. Here, Kevin extends his hand and says to him, "You did it, hero." And Elena looks at Ben with a tear in her eye and says, "You kept your promise." That concludes our session. To know that you've reached this point in the video, tell me which alien from the Omnitrix is your favorite. If you liked the story, don't forget to share it with 10 of your friends and get this video to 20,000 likes, because I need your support in the coming period. You'll find it. So, there's a lot more to come. Don't forget to visit the channel and see all the previous content, because believe me, everything you see will be beyond amazing. Be prepared and activate the notification bell to wait for the new content.